Hello, everyone, and welcome to DynamicsCon. My name is Priyesh Wagh, and I am a solution architect working with CloudFronts in Mumbai. And it's lovely to be here on DynamicsCon. I like to thank you, everyone, for voting to my session, and I hope I bring something valuable for you today. And let me begin my session. My topic for today is overview of project operations, Lite, sales to Proforma. So in project operations, as you might have already been familiar with project service automation offering by Dynamics 365, project operations is a newer offering which replaces the old project service automation. And what it does is it gives you extension to connect to your financial systems like finance and operations. So in this session, since project operations is fairly new and we don't know really much about it, and you've been working with project service automation for a while maybe, and if you want to get a little more heads up on what project operations are, so I hope this session really is the one for you. And what we are covering today is project operations Lite, because it's the Lite version, and the finance and operations piece is not a part of this demo. So let me walk you through what the details are going to be in today's session. So I'll be talking about what are the different types of project operations are. So there are necessarily three deployment types which we will look at. Then we will look at the sales cycle, because project operations Lite deals with having the journey from a deal, or the sales cycle which starts with a deal and extends to the Proforma invoicing. And also I'll also talk a little bit about what Proforma invoicing is, and how you can go through the sales cycle all the way to the Proforma invoicing. In that, we'll create project-based sales records, starting all the way from a lead and all the way to invoicing. Then I presume maybe that you are a little familiar with project service automation already. If not, I'll maybe borrow a few minutes to look into or help you, look at the more of the project management side of things as well. Next is finally we'll be looking at the invoicing part, which is how you can create multiple invoices, because there are a few features where which emphasize or which touch more upon the invoicing side of things, and they are not to exceed limit, and multiple billing, split billing for multiple customers, and all these set of features which we're going to look in the demo. So there's a demo for you in this session, and finally we'll be doing a quick Q&A. So the live chat is up, and you can start posting your questions, and I'll be able to answer them towards the end of this session. So let's get started with this. First of all, let's take a look at what are the different deployment types for project operations. And my next slide is this, where there are three different types of deployment types. Usually, if you're signing up for a preview for project operations, you can look at there are three different types of deployments. There's a questionnaire to follow, and based on which you can sign up for either of the three scenarios. So I'll quickly summarize what these three types are. One is the stocked and production based scenarios, meaning if you have production scenarios, like you have production orders, you have inventory management, and all of that goes into finance and operations piece. So this type of deployment is for that is stocked and production based scenarios. Next is the resource non-stocked based, meaning if you are a services company, let's say if you're a professional services company and you still need to have your final invoicing in finance and operations, but you're not really doing inventory or production orders, then in that case a resource or non-stocked based type of deployment is that for you. So this is the second type of deployment. And what we are doing in this demo is the Lite deployment. So this doesn't involve the financial operations side of things, where this only is a newer version of the existing project service automation, which extends your Dynamics 365 sales with the project management capabilities. And also there's a quick tip for you right away, because already we are having questions like when can we move to project operations if we are an existing PSA customer. So the upgrade path is going to come up soon for the project PSA to project operations. It is in preview. It is coming in preview in September 2021. The GA date is not available with us, but hopefully that should be out soon as well. and we'll know soon. If you follow me on my social handles, I'll keep posting about it regularly. So let's start taking a look at what the Lite deployment is all about. So let's start with the sales cycle first. As you must have worked on Dynamics 365 sales part already, or even in the previous PSA side, the project operations side of things are no different, apart from some key features which are really exciting, which I'll talk about soon. So you start with the lead entity first. You create a lead of work type, which I'll be covering in the demo. Then you move towards the opportunity. You enrich the opportunity by adding some opportunity lines to it. Then you further move on to the quote entity. You enrich your quote further, add quote lines, tie your project as well. That is where you also set your not to exceed limit, which is a new feature, which I'll talk about. There is also something that you can split billing between two customers. Let's say there are two customers paying for this project. Let's say there's a subsidiary, and then there's a main company who will also pay for this project. So that is something you can also set up in the code, which we will see. And finally, we'll also see how you move to the project contract before you really create a project. I mean, you enter time on the project and proceed to the invoicing side. So let's get on with a demo right away. So as you can see, I'm in my project operations instance. If I just click on the app, I'll just show you how it looks on the project operations side, or how the app looks. So among several apps you might have deployed in your environment, you will see a project operations with this orange icon. And you can go right into the app, and it will again load the app for you. Yeah, just a quick reminder. You can also start, posting your questions. I know it's too early, but it will give me a lot of heads up, so that I can, start looking at your questions. So we are in the app. Let's begin with the sales cycle first. If I switch my area to sales, here are all my sales entities. At this point, there are no customizations, so this is completely out of the box, and I haven't modified the Dynamics instance even one bit. So let me start by creating a new lead. Let's talk about our lead. Let's say there's a coffee company called as Coffee Bean. They want to do a Dynamics 365. They want to do an M365 implementation, and you're a professional services company, and you deal with Azure and M365. So let's say you'll create a lead called as Coffee Bean M365 implementation. And so the important point to note here is to switch between item based and work based. So work based is what you select, because that what will drive your project based context of your sales cycle. So let's say you've selected work based, then I'll enter a fictional name. Let's say John Smith, and let's say I've entered John Smith, and the name of the company is Coffee Bean USA, right? And I'll just save my lead, and I'm not putting a whole lot of information here to keep things simple. And next is let's say I will move forward to the develop stage from qualify stage. And what happens at this point is I should now be creating an opportunity, right? Because there's no opportunity to it. So the first thing we do with any lead or in a sales cycle is we go ahead and qualify the lead. So once I click on qualify, it will start creating its own opportunity first, and then I'll talk about what happens in the opportunity and how you can enrich that. So now, as you can see, the lead is now to an opportunity. This is the lead to opportunity sales cycle, and though it doesn't show any Dynamics 365 name of the form here, but the forms are all project service based forms. Okay. Now, the next thing you have to do is, let's say in your price list, you have different products or licenses and all that part added. So you can select the price list. I have two price lists. One is the sales and the cost price list, cost and the sales price list. So I will select the sales price list, because that is where all my bill rates are. I'll save because it's a field. Next, I will also tag a project price list to the opportunity right away. I can do this later on in the code stage, but I don't want to, wait till then for a message to see that I should add a project price list. So I'll do it right here. Next, I will click on add a project price list, and those were the same two price lists that I see. So I'll again tag the same price list here. So I've tagged my sales price list. I'll save and close. And I will go back to my summary. So at this point, to my opportunity, I have tagged my sales price list. Let me start by creating an opportunity line right away. So because this is a very small project, and I'll keep the denominations of the numbers very small for simplicity. The first type of services that I am going to offer is a time and material type of service. So I will enter first, the budget is, let's say, 1,000. Even if I don't enter this, that's fine. The next is I will enter what type of service this is expected. So I will say M365 on-site consulting, right? And the type of billing method here is time and material and fixed price. So let me quickly refresh your memory on this. Time and materials is as you go on working on client projects, you bill them based on the number of hours and all the setup that is done behind the scenes in project operations, or formerly in PSA. So that is time and materials, which is a billing method. And fixed prices, no matter what the time and materials are, you're going to charge your clients at a fixed rate. So now that is one more type we're going to select, but not in the opportunity. We'll do that further down the line in the code. So, since I'm doing an on-site consulting and it's uncertain of how many hours I would need, so I'll just enter time and materials here and not do much. So I'll just save and close this. So at this point, to my opportunity for Coffee Bean implementation, I'm tying a time and material based type of service, which is budgeted around 1,000. So the budget is just to, keep you aware of how, the numbers are bloating. Then I'm not adding products right away for any complexity, just to, we have to get to the invoicing part quicker. Then I will go to my quotes, and let's say I'm kind of ready to, start preparing my quote. So let's say I go to the quote section and I click a new quote. Right away, a new quote will be generated for you, and it will take all the information, including the price list and the one opportunity line that I entered into the quote. Then let's look at the summary. And as you can see, all the information got populated from your opportunity, right? The first thing that you do right away is, if you want, you can set a not to exceed limit. This is optional. So I will talk about what not to exceed limit is further down in the demo. But to give you a brief heads up, not to exceed limit meaning if you have committed to working, let's say, for $5,000, and let's say there is an upper limit to how much you still end up charging more. It could be new work, but still, let's say you don't want the client to go over 5,500. So, you place this limit on the quote, so that, any time and material which is posted, which exceeds the already built quote, it doesn't go over the said not to exceed limit. And like you have not to exceed limit on the quote, you also have the same for that in your quote line as well. Okay, so let me set a quick not to exceed limit of, let's say, 2,000. So I'll just keep it simple. I'll just keep a not to exceed limit of 2,000, and I will keep the requested delivery date to um, it's a short project, so let's say I'll keep it to the 13th of September, right? So the requested delivery date, this is a key field here. This defines your invoice schedule and billing milestone further down. So keep this in mind. I'll keep referring to this field. Currently, I've set it to 13th of September. So I'll save all my changes. So there are two things that I entered right away: the not to exceed limit of 2,000 and requested delivery date of 13th September, right? So this is, consider this as an end date. Let's go to the quote line. And as you can see, the time and material that came in from your quote. I want to add one more type of quote line here, that is the fixed price type, and I will just say consulting. But before that, let me talk about another feature which is in project operations exclusively, that is split billing. So if I go to the customers tab, I have the option that by default, whatever customer I have chosen on the opportunity or in my sales cycle is the account that got created with the lead, right? But let's say if there's a holding company to this one who wants to also kind of finance 50% of this, so I can go ahead and add a new quote customer to it. So I click on new, and I can just call it Coffee Bean Global. Uh, oh, sorry, I should be creating a new record. So let me create a new record, Coffee Bean Global. So this is my new record. I will save and close this record, and it's saved. So let me give it a 50%. To keep our calculations simple, I'm going to split this between 50-50. You need to go back and edit this one as well, because if you don't do that, you will get a message saying that this is going above 100%, that is 150%. So, please go back and change that to 50%. So the original one, I will set this to 50 and I will save it. Yeah, so this got saved. One of it will round, other won't. So, let's go ahead and create quote lines. Now, since I'm splitting this quote between two customers, whatever came in from the opportunity, that won't be split. So if I just, go inside, I have opened this time and material type of quote line. If I look at the customer, it won't be split. If I want, I can, but right now I just want to keep the time and materials part to the Coffee Bean USA. That is the local subsidiary. So I won't do anything here. But what I will do instead is I will, what I will do is I will exclude everything else and just keep time. Because for the time and material type, the on-site consulting, I'm just going to have time and material captured. So I'll just save this, and I can tag a project right away. So that all the time entries that I do against this project, I can track this against this project, so that I can start entering time, and I can just say Coffee Bean project, and I won't add anything much to it. I'll just keep it simple. This is something optional. You can even tag your project later on, but before I forget, I'll just tag my own project to it, right? So I'll save and close this, and let's create another type of quote line for fixed price. This is my quote line. I'll go ahead and I'll add a new quote line, and let me call it 365 consulting. Okay, and the billing method is fixed price. So I'll do the exact inverse. I will not include time, and for the rest of the items, I'll just say yes. Let's say the quoted amount is again 1,000, and I will tag the same project. Even if we don't tag the project, that is okay. So we will notice one more thing that will happen here is, because I created the quote line, it will carry forward all the denominations from the main quote into this quote line. Because that particular quote line, which had time and material that came in from the opportunity, it won't be split. If I want, I can do that, but this is what it will follow. So this is my quote. Now the next thing I do here, both the quote lines are set. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and create the invoice schedule for both of these types of quote lines. So I have a couple of frequencies set. Billing frequency is how likely you would want the amount to be split, and how likely the invoices would be generated. So as a standard practice, I just selected a standard. I want my invoices to be created weekly. I can either set it automatically or just come here and do it manually. So let me save this. So now when I click on generate periodic milestone, it will create, I think, 2 milestones. Remember, I had set 13th of September. Based on my invoice frequency, it will create 2 milestones because I'm considering 2 weekdays, that is 2 Mondays, and there are 2 Mondays that fall between these two, and hence these are 500 worth of each for 1,000, right? So my invoice schedule for my quote line is set for fixed type. I'll go ahead and close this. I will also go ahead and create the same frequency for my time and material. So let me quickly go ahead and do that. So this is my time and material. It takes a moment. Yeah. So again, I can go back and set my invoice schedule here. I'm going to select the same standard weekly, and I'm going to start billing them from the next, from the 30th, right? And I'll just save this part, and I'll generate the invoice schedule. So in this part, it won't be the amount because this is based on time and materials, and hence only the date is considered, right? So at this point, my code is kind of ready to go. I have set my invoice schedules for both fixed bid and time and material. I can go ahead and generate an invoice right away. So let's try to do that. Let's see what we get from the fixed price if we generate an invoice right away. Assuming that you're in the right state in time to generate your invoices, let's try to do it that way. So here in my code, let me take a quick check. I have my invoice schedule set, and I have my split set on the fixed price. And for time and material, it shouldn't show anything because I have not entered any time yet, right? And the not to exceed limit on this quote is 2000, right? So let me go ahead and first close the quote as 1. When we close this quote as 1, it will go ahead and create an order. That is, in project operations, we would call it project contract. Also, please feel free to enter your questions in the chat. All right, so here is our order. Let's take a look at what all was set previously. Has that all flown to the order? So let's go to the contract lines. There should be 2 contract lines, 1,000 each. Let's look at the time and material. Let's see if our invoice schedule also came through. So let's look at the invoice schedule. Yes, they are here. Let's close this. There's nothing really I changed, so I can click on save and close. Let's go to the fixed price one. Yeah, this one. Let's go to the fixed price one. And let's look at our billing milestones. Now, instead of invoice schedule, the name here is billing milestones is because there are 2 customers which are set on these. Now, in order to generate my first invoice, what I will do is, let's say this is the first piece, the first chunk of it. I'll go ahead and open this particular milestone. If I open this, I will get for Coffee Bean Global and for USA, there are 2 different milestone headers. So I can just go ahead and switch both of them to ready to invoicing. When I do this and when I create my invoice, it will kind of pick this 250 and this 250 and create 2 invoices out of this, right? So let me just save and close. Yeah, let me quickly do a cross check. Yeah, so this one is in progress, which I set both of them to ready to invoice. So yes, both are ready to invoice. Just went back there to cross check. So I'll close this. And since again, I'm not entering any time at this point, let me go ahead and create a code for this. So I'll again close this order line as well. I'll come back to my order and I can click on, so this looks fine. I'll click on confirm. It's okay. I won't confirm the order right away. Let me go ahead and just create an invoice, right? So when I create an invoice, it should give me 2 invoices. So it takes a bit and it will create 2 invoices. In previous project service automation, this feature wasn't present. Hence, you could just create an invoice for the one customer you have on the contract. But in this case, now this is going to be split between 2 customers. So it will say that multiple invoices have been created. So if I go to my invoices, these are my invoice screen. I will just sort the latest one so that the latest one also comes up. And as you can see, for both Coffee Bean USA and for Global, it's set total amount of $250, right? So this way I have 2 invoices generated. Now, when you open this invoice, this is your Proforma invoice. And now in Lite deployment, the Proforma invoice is, the endpoint, and this doesn't go anywhere to any other system, right? But if you have the right licenses for your finance and operations, and you have the environment and everything set up, you can establish an integration between these 2, right? But the kind of deployment we have opted here and the kind of demo this is targeted to, it's for the Lite deployment part, right? So if you see on my invoice, only 250 is accounted for, and time and material is not, because I didn't make any time entries. So let me just go ahead and confirm this. The reason I confirm this invoice is because let's say this is a Proforma invoice. It doesn't have any tax information, and that's why it is called as a Proforma invoice. It is not handled here in project operations Lite type of deployment, right? So I've just, this Proforma invoice for me looks right as a project manager, and hence I've just confirmed it, right? So I'll just close this, and I'll open the other invoice and confirm that invoice as well. So this is the other invoice. I will go ahead and confirm this, and let's go back to the contract after this. So I'll click on confirm. So this is the order, or this is the contract. I'll just refresh the whole thing. There are a few fields here. The committed amount is the time and materials or the time entries amount, which it will show 0 because I haven't entered any time. Spent amount is the total amount confirmed in invoices till now, and those should be 500, $250 each, right? Which both the invoices we confirmed. Now the remaining amount is set to be 2000. Let me go ahead and refresh this again. It should be less. So the remaining amount is actually keeping your not to exceed limit in check. So based on that, based on how many invoices you have finished, it will show you the end number. So let's see if it gives us this number at this point. Yes. So since I've billed for 1500, since I've billed for 500, 1500 is still yet to go. So let me go back to the quote again. This is my quote here. And let me bill the other fixed price as well. So if I go to my quote line, I can do this in the contract actually as well. So let me not go here. Sorry, my bad. I will go back to my order, and I can go into my contract lines because I have to set my invoice schedule for the fixed price. So I'll go to the fixed price, and in the billing milestones, I'll set the billing status for the other two, for these two customers, which is split between 50-50. So without opening, I can just do it from here. I can set both of them ready for invoicing. I'll just close this. I'll just close my order line again. And let me quickly go through the same cycle again just to confirm the remaining 1000 amount. Okay. So this is the order. I'll again click on create invoice. So it will create 2 more invoices again because we are trying to invoice for the fixed price for both the customers again, right? Just to get the number up to 2000. All right, again, 2 more invoices have been created. Let's again go back to our invoice. It's here. I can just simply sort so that whatever is latest will just show up. Oh, sorry, I should be doing the created on. Yes, so it's here. I'll open this up. I'll quickly confirm this. So I can confirm this invoice and close this, and the remaining invoice is also something I'll confirm again. So again, I can keep coming to these Proforma invoices and try to correct them as well. There are so many operations you can do, in project operations. There are many more features which unfortunately is not possible to cover in this demo, which are, advances are retainers. This is a new feature again, if you want to bill, someone in advance, and, you can set up your advance and retainers in project operations as well. But that is something that I've not covered in this one. Let me confirm this invoice as well. So this invoice is confirmed. And yeah, so if I go back to my order, and if I go to my summary, if I, the spent amount should be 1000 because that's the total value of the, this will take a little time since it could be an asynchronous service that runs after a minute or so. So the remaining amount is populated a little later. Now let's quickly go to the time entries. So since we have other type of order line or quote line, which is time and material, which is tied to the project. So let me go 1 week in the past. The reason I do this is because I want to be safe and go back in past, so that whenever you generate these invoices, what happens is maybe it will pick time entries from which are based on the date which happened before. So like you can't have a time entry dated forward to pick in the invoicing. So I'll just create a time entry here. I'll just enter 6 hours. I'll tie it to the same project. the coffee bean project, and I'll just say meetings, right? And I'll just save and close. Now there is one more thing which I talked about is called as not to exceed limit, right? Yes, it's here. Sorry, it's on Sunday. It should be elsewhere. I'll delete this. Let me be mindful of what date I select. I'll just select somewhere in the middle of the day, and maybe just go back in August. Okay, 6 hours. Project is coffee bean project. Just call it meetings. Yeah, it is here. I will submit this time entry. So now when I submit this time entry, there is a validation that runs at several places, but we just kept the not to exceed limit on the quote itself. You can also have it on individual line items like quote line and contract line. So let's say since I only have one license, I am the whole and sole approver. So for whoever the project approver on the project is, a validation will run and will ensure that it is not exceeding the not to exceed limit clause which is set on the project, and it will say a success here, right? I can just go ahead and approve this. When I approve a time entry, it becomes an actual which is tied to the project. So if I go to the project which I just approved, do I have the coffee bean project here? Yes. So now I can open this project up and I can go to the actuals. So if I go to the actual, the unbilled sales is the one which is the committed time, which is of 6 hours. It is amounting to $510, which I don't think is exceeding our limit. So let me click on ready to invoice. If I were to exceed the not to exceed limit at this point while approving, I would have gotten an error before I could set this actual for invoicing. Now that I have approved it for invoicing, I can go back to my order. Let me refresh this just to see a view before we go ahead and create an invoice. And in the meanwhile, please keep posting if you have any questions. I'll try to answer. We're nearly at the end of our session here. So yeah, so remaining was 1,000, and the spent amount is 1,000 still because we haven't created invoice yet. The committed amount is 510 because that is the actuals which are not yet invoiced. So this will again, once I approve and create an invoice, that will again come down to 0, right? And the spend amount would increase and remaining amount would again, get reduced. So let me go ahead and create the invoice. At this point, as long as the time entries are done prior to the day you are confirming an invoice for, those will be considered based on your invoice schedule, which is set in your time and material type of contract line. So only one will be created because remember, we don't have anything set. There are no multiple customers which for the time and material, right? Because this is time and material and we are only billing the bean house, the coffee bean USA for this, which should be here. Yeah, the customer. So coffee bean global is not here, so there is just one invoice, and hence the form opened up and not, it didn't say that there are two multiple invoices, right? So 512 that has been billed already for 6 hours, and as you can see there was nothing for the fixed price, so this would be 0, and the extended amount for the time and material would show up, right? So now let's also go back. I'll just save and close this. Oh, I had to confirm this. So, okay, I have my invoices tab here. Let me quickly check this invoice and confirm this, and then we proceed towards the last step. So let's me sort again. So this is the new one, which has the 510 amount, and let me confirm this one. All right. It will keep the amount to the mark, and we then try to enter our final time entry and see if it exceeds the limit, right? So if I go back to the order again, if I try to refresh the whole order, let's see what our values are. And again, since we are doing this, in a premeditated way, that we are trying to put all the amounts very cautiously, you can again, correct your invoices. There are so many features, like it will create a draft invoice, it will create a negative invoice. Let's say you correct and all of that. Let's say now we are trying to, we are about to reach our, limit of 2000. Let's see what the spent amount is. 1510 should be that. The committed amount should again go back to 0 because there are no pending time entries. Let's try to make a time entry quickly. Yeah, I'll go to time entries. Let me do a time entry again in the past. Okay, let me again do for, let's say 7 hours, just to be very sure. Of course, even 6 hours will exceed. So here's the coffee bean, and here's the role. Is meetings still there? Yes. Let me do my time entries quickly. Let me submit this time entry. So I have submitted, and let's look at the approvals. It will say fail because it knows that whenever I try to approve, it will run over the not to exceed limit. So the whole, not to exceed validation, it will say that it is set up and it has failed this. But I can still, at this point in approvals, I can go ahead and try to approve this. Where it will finally stop me is in the project. So here's my project. If I refresh, so since this is tiny, I just sort by the created on date so that I am looking at the correct one. Yeah, so this is the failed one, right? So this is the one that I just approved. And at this point, if I try to ready it to invoice, it won't. It will say that, the selected transaction is exceeding, the limit. And let's say if this goes ahead and is approved, and if I try to create an invoice, it will exceed the not to exceed limit which I've set. So hence it is stopping me at the right time and saying, don't go ahead and approve this, even though it was approved previously. The actuals can't be approved. So this validation has failed here. So this way you stay within the budget. In project operations, you can work on your Proforma invoices. Like there are several features, like you can mark the invoices as paid. If there's any issue, you can again correct the invoice. It will generate a negative invoice. And there are again so many features that I haven't still talked about. And at this point, even I'm kind of reviewing all these features. But I hope I can come up with all the rest of the features in project operations, including the full implementation from sales to invoices to the financial systems. I hope to bring you that content soon as well. But I hope this session was useful for you. I know it was a little speedy, but what I try to cover here is how you can go from sales to Proforma invoicing in project operations, light type of deployment. So let me go back to my slides here. So to summarize, we started, we created a lead, we qualified it, we enriched the opportunity by 1 TNM, we created a quote, another added a fixed line, then we split the customer into for the fixed price, and then we set this invoice schedules and created 1 or 2 invoices depending on the situation. All right. I hope that session was helpful for you. Again, I'd like to thank every one of you for attending today's session. And a huge thank you to DynamicsCon for getting my event through. It's really a lovely first experience at DynamicsCon, and I look forward for more. And again, thank you all for voting for my session as well. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of the DynamicsCon. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you. I hope that session was useful and you did get to learn a lot in the project operations overview, which took from sales to Proforma. It has been a pleasure, speaking at the DynamicsCon. We'll take a questions in a minute. Just to put it out, I'm at a remote location in a hotel, and my internet might act up, but fortunately, it's been good. Lovely interacting with you all. I see a few questions here. So let's start by addressing each of these. All right. The first is Carlos asks, how can I use agile methodologies like Scrum in project operations? So a new feature in project operations in the projects itself is called as buckets. If you're expecting sophistication um, of DevOps level, Azure DevOps level. It won't be that, but it would be a simple Kanban board where you can at least move tasks from one stage to the other, and you can then create your own buckets. So that particular feature is available there, but to be able to completely use agile methodologies like Scrum, I suggest you, if you have some technical background, some basic integration between DevOps and project operations is preferable. Um, so I hope that kind of answers your question. Then next, Susan asks, have the dates changed for preview and GA? So Susan, project operations is already in GA since October 2020 last year, and even the Wave 1 updates have been applied. As of now, as I mentioned in the session as well, if you're already a Dynamics 365 PSA customer, the upgrade path from PSA to project operations, that will come out soon, maybe in a couple of months, December or a little beyond that, and that will be available for a preview. The actual GA for that transition will happen in the first wave of 2022. So it's already in GA. If that was the question. Um, okay, so next. Lorne Rogers asks, what's the difference between project price versus the other price list? So if you're using different apps like sales, customer service, price list technically speaking is a table which is common for all of these. But since you have project operations or field service and all these apps installed on top of them, what will happen is they will just show different grids or different related tables on the price list. The table is the same. It's just that because of how your Dynamics 365 is configured, it will show up related items. So if you're using a normal price list, you will have tight items. If you're using a price list the same price list the same price list from a price list entity is repurposed to be used for project operations and for other applications, since project operations is built on top of existing Dynamics 365. I hope that answers the question, Lone. Next, Key Arnold asks, can you still book time against a fixed price project? All right. So how this is done? This is a little tricky part, since you do have an option to include time when you do a fixed line project. But how this works is, let's say you have a quote line of a fixed type project and you want to enter time against that. What I suggest is, and what I've done in the past, if you want to tag the same project, I suggest you create another time and material type of quote line or contract line, and then include time to say yes instead of tagging that in the fixed price project. Because usually what happens is, how fixed price projects would work is, fixed price won't change, but you want to also include time, so that goes on top of the fixed price. So a combination of a fixed price line item and a time and material line item will be a great fit, and then they can work in harmony. As I showed in the demo, one of my contract lines were a fixed price, and the other one was time entry. So the fixed price part will be added on top of it. So I hope that answers the question as well. And next, Liz Helen asks, Liz says, yeah, the questions really are amazing. It's great that all of you are thinking about some practical approaches of how you can use project operations. That's really wonderful. Christopher Smith asks, which is the best place to documentation on the initial configuration and setup for project operations? What about the training content? Great. What I would recommend in this case is, if you have been using old project service documentation, if you still have those links, I would prefer going through them. Project operations themselves itself also has its own setup and configuration.
And necessarily what is needed to configure, if I have to summarize right away, are just the contracting units, the sales and cost price list, and the roles. So these are some primary items which, if if you look up on YouTube, or if you even refer Microsoft Docs for that, they have some good materials on how to get your initial setup going. As far as how I want to also bring this content out is, if you follow me on YouTube, I've been started to make some videos recently, but I haven't been a full-fledged engaged with that. But I'm definitely looking at all the interest coming and all the requests coming through. I'm willing to kind of start my own series of how you can do project operations configurations, and training material for the same. For project operations Lite, the initial setup and configuration is largely the same for these common entities. Apart from that, there are some more settings which you would definitely find on Microsoft Docs. So that is a good way to start that. So I still have about 5 minutes left. Those were some really great questions. Just a quick thank you, Jeff, thank you, Amit. So as a quick takeaway, what I would suggest is, some great updates to project operations have been coming, like subcontractor support is coming in wave 1, that will soon be in GA as well. And you can create a project operations trial. When it was in preview, it was a bit difficult that you had to set up the environment. And if you're looking to do project operations Lite, and further if you want to extend it to um, connect to finance and operations, um, yeah, I will also try to come up with content for that. um, I hope you really enjoyed this DynamicsCon, and um, I had a great time presenting, guys. And kindly follow my blog d365demystified.com, and I have a YouTube channel with the same name. I'll definitely come up with project operations Lite and full content as soon as I can. So thank you all, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the DynamicsCon. Thank you.